Hello and welcome. You're watching etcfo.com. This is Manu, and I'm joined by my colleague, Ms. Vartika Rawat. Well, over the last couple of months, the Kane tax dispute has made much news. Uh, we know that the UK energy major, Kane, is trying to enforce the arbitration award against India. And likewise, India is now trying to appeal against the award. So we have a lot of questions, and we are joined by a special guest, Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg, who doesn't need any introduction whatsoever. So hello and welcome, sir. Great to have you. Yeah.
And nice to see you, Artika.
Yes, sir. Same here. Welcome on the show.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, sir, let us begin this conversation by asking you your initial impression on the situation that we have right now, with Kane trying to enforce the award and India also trying to challenge the award. So, what is your initial impression on the development so far that's taken place in this episode? Yeah.
See, it's very natural to expect any company who has won an arbitration award to get either it respected, or if it is not accepted, then to enforce it. It's quite understandable in that sense from the Kane's perspective. From the government's perspective also, I think if you look at the root of the issue, there was capital gains. Those capital gains were not taxed by India. The capital gains tax was not paid. And any sovereign is always rightly interested to get the right and fair amount of taxation on the incomes earned or the capital gains made. And if the structure of laws or the language or something else makes the sovereign lose that what it considers as legitimate revenue to come, then that sovereign would definitely, in the natural course of things itself, try to do everything to recover that lost kind of revenue. And therefore, from the government's perspective also, whether it was the contest which was made before the arbitration tribunal, or the challenge in the court before, or now an appeal against the arbitration award, is all understandable. So I think both these parties at this moment seems to be trying to secure their legitimate interest. And the play of things right now seems to be very much understandable.
So, sir, very politically correct you sounded. I must say that. But from the facts that are in the public domain, do you think the government should have decided to appeal? Could it have restrained itself, factoring in the investor community's interest? Of course, it's a big sum on the table, but could it have hold itself back?
If I may say, so the original mistake, if not sin, in this case is that at the time when these gains occurred, sometime I guess in 2006 or 2008 or something, at that time, these kind of gains were not subject to tax. This has been held in the Vodafone case by the Supreme Court. And even the government has accepted that this was not legitimately taxable at that point of time. And that is the reason why the government brought the retrospective taxation laws in exercise of that inalienable sovereign right to tax income from the past as well if it has escaped the taxation. So if you look at purely from the investor's point of view, since something was not taxable at the point of when the income occurred, the legitimate expectations from the investors is that you don't tax me for something which was not taxable at that point of time. And therefore, if you accept that kind of position, that the government, even if is losing something which is normally a legitimate taxation. Suppose this law was there at the time in 2006. It was not a retrospective law. This law was there in 2006. The Keynes would not have sort of escaped this taxation, right? Anything which has happened after 2012 of the similar nature is suffering the same kind of tax. So if the government were to take a view, which is that the investors have legitimate right to expect to be taxed at the current legal regime, then possibly there is a case for government to accept that, yes, in this case, for something which happened in 2006 and 8, we can stop. We can stop, we may not pursue this case, right? But that's a very hard decision to take. And that is the reason probably the government has sort of erred or taken a view on the side of trying to recover something rather than taking a more sort of holistic and constructive view that, all right, we accept this was not taxable in 2006. And therefore, we will not pursue it and let it go. That possibly would have been a better signaling from the investor's point of view. But from the legitimate expectation to collect legitimate tax, that would have been a sacrifice.
You know, India is now giving an option while it is considering, going to the Dutch court. It is also giving an option to the company that, under Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, they can resolve this. This is a concession that's been given. So, sir, in this kind of a situation, what are the favorable argument for the government to, reappeal? And how far do you think that the government is correct in that?
By offering, and this is based on what has come into the public domain, to settle it under the Vivad Se Vishwas is like going halfway, because the Vivad Se Vishwas allows you to pay 50% of the tax which the government has lost in the courts, right? What I see by what the government has suggested now is going halfway, not the full way. And this, to my mind, as I said earlier, going by the sovereign's preference that something which is a legitimate tax must be recovered, I think offers a good compromise, honestly. Otherwise, in pursuit of that perceived legitimate right to get the tax which was due on that income, the government would appeal. So the way I see it today is that both the parties, the government would pursue the course of appeal, hoping that at some point in time, the other party would come on the table and settle it halfway. And the other party would pursue the course for enforcement of the award to get as much remitted or sort of waived, not half, as it can. So I think now it's the battle of wits to some extent going forward. And probably the attempt is that it should settle somewhere between 0 and 50.
With this kind of a move that government wants to go ahead, against Keynes or against Vodafone, because they now want to reappeal, what kind of a message is then Indian government or India sending out to the whole global business environment? And the question that you partly answered was that, is this going to be discouraging for the global investors? given that India is also doing a lot of things like PLI and all those things to attract those kind of foreign investment.
See, Vartika, whatever damage the retrospective taxation has could do to the sentiment of investor is already done, right? So this law is there, it has been questioned, tax terrorism, whatever, several things. So international investment community has expressed in very, very clear terms, right? But we still have had outstanding flow of FDIs. Every year it is increasing. India is one of the top 10 countries, now even top 7 or 6 countries in the world to receive the foreign direct investments. So it's not a one-way street that the investors are spooked by this law, and this law is there, which is there. So in my judgment, what the decision to appeal has done is to convey a message that yes, these are tough nuts. These guys are not going to give it up easily. And therefore, you have to live with sort of complaining nanny or whatever. So go through the process.
So I have one follow-up question to what you just exactly said, sir. I'm saying if tomorrow India appeals and loses, then it has to eventually enforce that award, which could mean, that Kane could sell India's foreign assets, Air India, whatever. So I'm saying, isn't that a huge? Won't that be a huge embarrassment to a nation which is aspiring to become a 5 trillion economy in the next 5 years or so?
Is losing the arbitration in the tribunal a national embarrassment?
Okay, so then you seem to answer absolutely no. It's one is blowing out of proportion.
It's the same, and most likely India will lose in the appeal. Right?
Okay.
It's as I said earlier, it's a tactic to sort of bring it 50%.
Correct.
Right. So at some point in time, the investor also does his calculations that how much time does it take to enforce. It's not easy to enforce against the sovereign. Don't think it's very easy. And many of the people, by the way, who have accepted the Vivad Se Viswas, they have not done it happily, right? They've also sort of calculated the cost of litigation, cost of this, that, etc., and probably came to accept, other than public sector, I'm talking more in the private sector, that yes, it might make a better business sense to pay up. And so I think the intent of the government is to persuade within court the other party to accept the 50%.
And the other party will that party fall into the government's half amount recovery bait?
I don't think it will, because it's a straight loss of 50%. Though actually it may not be 50% because it may be lesser than penalties and other things.
It's only the principal amount and not the interest and penalty, and interest will be waived off.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not privy to it. They might have offered 50 or 50. I don't know.
Well, no, sir. I'm just saying, if you weigh the cost of enforcing that order, because you said that won't be easy either for Kane. So if you weigh that cost of enforcing the award against paying up 50%.
That is what the Cairn at the end of the day is a business. It's profit and loss at the end of the day is what makes it's a going concern. So you have to calculate. It's not easy. It's not costless to have the international arbitrations. You pay millions in fees and other things. Go to appeal, try to enforce the award, take possession. It's it's going to be hell of a lot of cost. So I guess, in my judgment, at some stage, they will come on the table and have a deal.